Really great to connect with both of you, the executive director and the artistic director of Outfest. And Sundance looks a little bit different this year. Are you both remote? You're doing Sundance remotely?
Yeah. I am in New York City. This is my second year, I guess, doing Sundance remote. And it's been a great experience for the most part. They pivoted in an interesting manner. So it was cool.
Similar situation for you, Damien?
Yeah, definitely. It was funny. My first year of tenure, I got the opportunity to go to Sundance and host this big Outfest house for the first time, and didn't realize that it would be a few years before we might be able to return. But it is bittersweet, as you can imagine. You know, one of the things that we realize is how many more people we can reach digitally as these things continue to pivot. That when you eliminate barriers to entry, not shockingly, more people show up, and people that you're trying to reach, and they can afford to get all the way to Park City. But it's one of those things that it never takes away from the in-person that you can possibly imagine.
I was supposed to be in Park City this month. That got postponed. Ironically, not for Sundance, just for general travel. What a great city. I'll throw this to Faridah first. Like, when did you first notice Park City to change to be this almost world-class city, even though it's got a population of like 10,000 people?
I went to my first Sundance in 2016. So around that time, the mystique of Sundance was already out and about. So it was very cool to go there. It was my first time in kind of a skiing city as well. So it was kind of a mix of Sundance, but also like this really beautiful city. Actually, my first year, I won a helicopter ride through Samsung. I ended up not being able to take it because they shut down the helicopter rides. But like, I was like on my way, and I was like, this is the weirdest, wildest experience of my entire life. I tweeted a helicopter at a Samsung account, and now they're telling me I have a helicopter ride. So the entirety of Park City and the Sundance experience was really intense going in. So I don't know, it was always magical for me, I guess. I wasn't there before it wasn't magical.
Yeah, you come from the film festival world. So of course, I'm going to come to you anytime it's hey, what should I be looking out for? Damien, when did you first go to Sundance, or at least Park City?
So I've been to Sundance, much like South by, under my previous world of brand and brand entertainment. So there was always a subdivision going on up at the lodge around brand entertainment. South by, same. I was, at least a decade of getting to go to those events. So it's been decades, it seems like, that I've had the opportunity to see how it's evolved over time. You know, these destination events are always so interesting, especially when they're in the middle of the mountains. I'm sure nobody quite realized what a pandemic might do to these destination events versus, festivals like Outfest, where we have the beauty of being always in great weather and outdoors. It's definitely a challenge, but it is always striking to see how much that small mountain village transforms during those weeks.
Yeah, Damien, you're no familiar to the outdoors. You own a sustainable farm. Not many people I interview own a sustainable farm. How has Outfest grown, aside from having to go a little virtually oriented in the last 2 years?
Yeah, sustainability is definitely a thing that I think is the theme, whether it's in organic farming or if it's in film festivals and organizations like ourselves that have multiple festivals and different types of physical programming. It's as I mentioned just prior that it's been an incredible area of opportunity for those that perhaps could oversee areas in which virtual might actually prop things up. And increase the reach. When we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, digital is something that obviously has increasingly become more affordable, especially around the internet, Wi-Fi, and other areas. Still has a long way to go. So for us, looking at our programs and ways in which we could expand them using that digital platform is something that I think all of us were really surprised at just how far those tentacles could go.
Faridah, you have to look at a lot of content to do your programming choices. Where do they usually come from? Is it general submissions to the website? Is it industry, a combination? Or are you actually seeking out the programming yourself?
Can I just say yes to everything?
All the above.
All of the above. So we have a very robust, submissions process. And we love watching the films that people submit directly to us, because these are filmmakers who like see the mission of Outfest and see the things that we do, and then kind of want to be part of that. And we of course want to prioritize those individuals, those filmmakers who like want to see their work through the eyes of Outfest. But in addition, we also we go to film festivals. We also, people might just send us a message and be like, "Hi, I'm a filmmaker. I just kind of found out about Outfest. I know I just missed a deadline." This is not me encouraging people to do that very often. And we want to take a look at it, because at the end of the day, our goal at the film festival is to feature those filmmakers, to center their stories, to center their experience. So I say all of the above because I want all of the above. I want the option of all of the above so that I can kind of feature as many filmmakers as humanly possible and get their stories out there.
Is that the bulk of what you do as artistic director, or is it a lot of also meeting with sponsors? I ask that because what a writer does these days is not very similar to what a writer was doing 10 years ago. There wasn't the social media component, so there was more time actually writing.
Yeah, it's been a combination of both. I get to watch a lot of really great films, but also we are an organization with 3 festivals. We have an online platform, which is the Out Museum. We have a really robust filmmaker development programs. So there's always something to do, and sometimes it's not watching movies. So my job kind of encompasses the artistic direction of the entire organization. And because we are more than just 3 festivals, we're more than just our virtual platform. We're more than just our amazing screenwriting lab, our young filmmakers programs like Outset, our legacy project where we do film preservations. Outfest just has so many things. So I wish I was just watching movies all the time, but it is still gratifying work to be able to still center the filmmakers and our community with every aspect of the things that I do at Outfest.
Damien, are you allowed to say what's coming up for Outfest in the future? I say that because a lot of my questions to people within the film world are prefaced with, I know you might be under a deadline.com embargo and therefore waiting to announce a thing, but in your case, there's multiple festivals. You're also collaborating with other festivals. So are you allowed to say what's coming up, what we can get excited about in the near future?
I think one of the biggest things that we'll be announcing soon is some of the new board members that will be joining Outfest are notable names and people that we've been really excited to start to see engaged in our leadership from the board down. For any of you that have been familiar with nonprofits or have worked with one, the board really is the steering of the ship. And so it's very important that the board reflects the industry and reflects our community at a time in which that is so important. So those are actually some exciting announcements. The collaboration, as you mentioned, with whether that's brand partners or corporate partners or other community and nonprofit partners, are the ways that we grow. I always say that, an open business model of not having to become the expert in anything because there is likely somebody else that's better at it than you are. Why don't you reach out to them? And those are ways that both, for-profit and nonprofit businesses are really finding ways of expanding its impact faster. So I will say that a couple of the events that we started virtually becoming in person are probably some exciting things, especially when we look at things like our Outfronts, which was our first TV queer upfronts, our Legacy Awards, which was the first time we did an all-night event with, lots of different speaking engagements and just making sure that we give a platform, not just for films, but for the voices and thought leaders that are so important to our community right now. Those are the areas that I think are going to be the most exciting for us that we will be revealing soon.
Is Outfronts trademarked yet? If not, what are you waiting for? That's enough.
Just like our Outfest, it does take a while for things to be trademarked, but we have absolutely started that process. It was something that we couldn't believe that it had not been coined prior to that, but we are glad that we are the first ones to have a public example of it out there, which we all know is so important.
And it sounds like these events putting words in your mouth. They could be in any city, they could be virtually. So really everybody should be staying tuned and following the social media and seeing what's next from Outfest.
Yeah, our calendar section, which was always something that was an afterthought, is increasingly becoming more and more important on our website to be able to add to calendar. All of the various events. We have our Pioneers of Queer Cinema, which is coming out in February in partnership with Indie Collect, and our Outfest UCLA Legacy project and the UCLA Legacy Archive, or the UCLA Archive. We've got special events that we just did with the Velvet Underground. There might be another incredible film that we're going to be doing some conversations with. So we're weekly now with the types of programming that we're doing. And especially for those big events, Outfest Los Angeles is our 40th anniversary this year, is going to be bigger and better than ever. We're going to be doing lots of fun events that we're bringing back voices and creatives from our past who are very much quintessential and bringing us to where we are today. So we're excited to see people be able to participate with those individuals from all over the world. And that's something that, the Out Museum, all of our virtual events, we have seen increasingly populations from communities as diverse as London, Africa, India, and then all over rural areas within their own community across the United States, participating in these events and coming and watching some of their favorite stars or filmmakers converse about what they're doing and what they're working on. And we're happy to continue to provide that platform.
Sure. Well, last question I have for both of you. We'll start with Faridah first, putting you on the spot here. And that is, do you have a TV recommendation you could pass along if I need a new show or a streaming service kind of program to start? We're kind of running low here.
It is so. I feel like such a bandwagoner, but I just love Yellow Jackets so much. Yellow Jackets is just really, it's been a lot of fun to watch. It's very tense, but it's very, very awesome. And actually, two of the stars of that film started a queer podcast. So maybe that's part of the reason why I also really like Yellow Jackets. But that's been a lot of fun. Also Abbott Elementary, because it's hilarious. And I used to teach.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that one has come up in my queue as a recommendation, Abbott Elementary. And it's funny to hear how many people recommending Yellow Jacket or Yellowstone. All the yellow shows are having their moment at the moment.
And I'm wearing yellow, so that's maybe also part of the reason why it's why I'm thinking of it.
And then Damien, farewell question for you as well. TV recommendation you can pass along?
Well, I will always recommend Hentified, which of course is an incredible story about my community that I was born and raised in, right down the street in Boyle Heights. But one of the ones I also just came across was Bridget Everett's and the Duplass brothers' new series, Somebody Somewhere, which is incredible. It's so cool now when you go to watch something because you like a specific character or a specific talent, and then find out it is inherently very, very queer. And that was definitely one of these shows where I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, the dead sister's a lesbian and she's surrounded by all queer folk, and but in rural Kansas. And so that's really an exciting place to continue to see our community represented in ways that we know we've always existed, but we just have never had the opportunity to see ourselves on screen in these ways.
Couldn't say any better myself. Well, thank you both for your time, and looking forward to everything that is coming. And really credit to you for rolling with the punches and being able to do virtual programming and virtual events rather than just canceling or just waiting to see what everyone else is doing.
Thank you so much, Darren. We really appreciate giving us the platform to talk about what we love the most.
Paltrocast.